Hi, and welcome to Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, founder and creative mind behind Rainbow Shaker, a colorful interior design studio in London. My goal is to spread joy and happiness through the design of cheerful interiors. If, like me, you think that we need a colorful bubble to escape the daily gloom, then this podcast is definitely for you. Each episode, I will be welcoming well-known guests from various colorful backgrounds. You won't find us speaking about the right way to use colors. In this podcast, I want to help you trust your intuition and give you all the confidence you need when designing interiors full of dopamine. Hi everyone, and welcome to another vibrant episode of Color Your Home Happy. Today we're going to Glasgow to welcome Jay Spence, founder of Kelvingrove Property Sourcing. She's a fellow color lover who helps investors purchase unloved properties and turn them into wonderful tenanted homes. Hi Jay, how are you?
I am doing great, very excited. This is actually my very first podcast as a guest, so I'm honoured to be asked about what we do and kind of all the bits and pieces that comes along with being a colour lover like yourself.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about yourself, your background?
Yeah, so I have been in the property business for quite a number of years now, probably when you add it all up, around 15 years now. Before I got into property, the only thing I've ever trained at was to be an actor. So I've been in the sort of theatrical filming scene, and I still sort of am as well, because we're just setting up a production company. That's another story. I've always had a very creative background. I was the business development manager of a letting business for 8 years, and that's where I sort of really cut my teeth into the property business. During that time, during that 8 years, I was also helping investors and landlords buy properties, like, to keep within our lettings portfolio. So I was doing lots of that, and then also helping them renovate it. And then after the 8 years, I finished up with the company, and then I set up my own business, which was Kelvingrove Property Sourcing, which is all about sourcing buy-to-let properties for clients, but I handle all of their renovation and get them ready for the market. We also have a small network of investors that we put up money in together, and then we do essentially development, sort of like a flip. Sometimes we'll sell them and sometimes we'll keep them in our own portfolio. I think the exciting thing for a lot of the investors is that I'll allow them to learn and invest at the same time, so they make money whilst we're doing the development, but they're also can be on site and going through the whole process so that they can learn and then essentially go on and do it themselves. And it's fun, because I am getting to do the most creative job in the property development side. I'm getting a handle on the financial side, but then there's the interiors, making it look, whether you're selling it, that we get to the top value that we want, or if you're renting it, that you're creating a home that tenants absolutely love. I absolutely love my job. It's non-stop, and it's something that I can actually bounce out of bed and go, right, what are we doing today? It's just, it keeps me going, and it's very, very vibrant. And I only really get involved in projects that have that element to it. Life's for living. You just got to make it fun whilst you're doing it.
Yeah.
And inject a bit of colour as well.
So you have a team of builders, of decorators who are helping you also bring your visions to life, I would say.
Absolutely. I've worked with so many different sort of tradesmen and teams like over the last 3 years, and I'm working with a fabulous team just now, but I'm always looking for more. It's very important, actually, the relationship that you have with your builders. And I work with, obviously, interior designers as well, hence how you and I have met and worked on some lovely projects together. It's really important, actually, the people that you have around you, because it's essentially just me in the business. But I work with so many other great people, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do, without them. There's so many different elements to property development and buying property and the letting side. It's huge. So you really need to have a fantastic team. Everything you're doing together.
Do you feel that as a woman, it's sometimes hard?
I'm a very confident woman. I'm confident in my own skin. I find that most of the time I don't have an issue because I just don't stand for it, if that makes sense. But there are numerous occasions where this is a new term for me, where I get mansplained about what's happening, and I just laugh it off. But I did have one particular case where I was renovating a property with a tradesman, and it just all ended in tears because he just had an attitude with me, and the more we went on, the more he would tell me that something was wrong, and I would say, but that's okay. And you can generally pick it out. Certain things will be said to you and you go, just not valuing what I'm saying or any of the experience that I have, because I actually do have a bucket load of experience now. But you're always willing to learn, and I do. I mean, I'm learning every day with this, and there's so many mistakes that happen. It's just part of the course. Yeah, it's a real thing. And I mostly work with men. I love men. Who doesn't? But the thing is that you definitely need to surround yourself with all different kinds of people, I think, to make you better at what you do. I work with mortgage brokers, solicitors that are female. All the interior designers that I work with, they're all female. I have not worked with one single female tradesperson yet. Not one. It's just interesting how it is. I don't know if that will change. I only know of one female joiner, and she works with her partner together. And I know that she faces quite a bit of, I hate even saying the word, but misogyny. Some of the comments that I see, I think, oh, why? Just don't say anything. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't bother.
I've seen this because I switched from an area with lots of men, from engineers to interior designers who was mostly females, as you said. It was also completely different. But then when I'm starting to renovate things, or when I'm doing a renovation with my husband, for example, I clearly see when trades are coming in and start to talk to my husband, overlooking me.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's the boss.
Yeah, that has happened to me a few times as well. I'll come in like with the builder on a job, and the surveyor, maybe like the structural engineer or something like that, would just start talking to the builder, like just like tunnel vision to him. And I'm like, hello, this is my job. Hi. But I just don't stand for it. So I'm very vocal, and I'll just change the conversation and make sure that I'm not discounted. I think people just assume that you don't know what you're doing. And sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but that's why I've got a professional builder who does know what they're doing. It's all about bringing in the right people. And that's part of what property development is. But touch wood, it doesn't happen that often. And you just deal with it and move on. But we have to rise above it and just keep doing what we're doing, because who's going to stop us?
Yeah. Talking about misconceptions or preconceptions, there is one misconception that we wanted to talk about today, is that people think that bringing colors or personalization into a property won't help them sell it. What do you think about this?
So this is something that I talk all the time about other developers and other people in property, about keeping it neutral versus adding in some colour. And I am 100% in the colour camp. It might be deemed as a risk, but it's a much greater reward. And I think it's worth it. From a sales point of view, you want to make something that's aspirational. And if you keep it safe, you're not ticking that box. Some people are afraid to go like too bold, or because when you're developing a property, you could be spending up to £50,000. You're putting in a kitchen and a bathroom with the most expensive things. And you think, well, if it's too bold, then I could have wasted all that money. But what I find is that the bolder, the more aspirational that you make in terms of colours and design, is that you have to forget that you're catering to the masses, because the masses won't pay the price. So if you're doing a development, they won't pay the big money that you really need, because everything is so expensive now in terms of property development that you really need someone to go like that bit higher. And all it takes is one and maybe two people that go, holy moly, this is sensational. I couldn't have put this together myself. And they think, oh my God, like this is the lifestyle that I want. And they just dive right in, and then they go 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. They get insanely crazy about getting that property, and then they'll keep bidding and bidding. So if you play it safe, you'll still have a lovely property and people will buy it. But my experience is that if you go a little bit unsafe, or if you go the extra mile with colour and design, that somebody will come along, pay the big money, and That's really what it's all about. And, because the whole point of property development is to make money from it, but you also want to get a satisfaction from it as well. I get so disheartened when I see developments and they've got like dark grey units in the kitchen. And I think, oh my goodness, it's so depressing. And I'd just like to add that I know that I've got grey all around me. I'm in my partner's flat whilst we are renovating our new house at the minute, and all his walls are grey, 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 grey. But these are my plant babies. These are the things that bring colour into this apartment.
When you put colours or personalize a property that you want to sell, do you see that you can sometimes offer it at a higher price than if it was all white?
100%. If you're going to view a property and you see so many of the same things, then how much more are you going to pay over the asking price for something that you've seen dozens of times before when you're looking at properties? But when something has got more colour and design into it, you think, oh my goodness, I'm not going to see this again. I need to put in a serious offer. This is my lifestyle. I want to be part of this, So you're really using colour to get a buy-in to the kind of lifestyle that people want, and will pay the money. They'll pay more for you to create a lifestyle for them. I feel like now there's a shift towards more colour as well. It's just feeding right into their heart and their emotion. Generally, I've found that the people that pay more are for the colourful properties because it's aspirational for them. It's something that they maybe couldn't do themselves, that they don't have the courage or the time. They feel like they don't have the time to put into designing a property. So when you can show something that's really vibrant, or sometimes the deeper, darker colours really appeal to people as well.
Lots of people are scared when they buy to renovate. And if you put colours conveniently like zoning to divide spaces and show them that you don't have to do a lot of work to make it for their taste, like you don't have to remove a wall or anything, just by placing colours at the right place, you can create already the layout that you have in mind. If the layout is not right for them, they just have to remove some of the colors and replace them by their own shapes or colors that they want to rearrange the layout.
Yeah, it's nice to tell a story through zoning. Paint can certainly tell a different story and put in bits of your personality as well. And I love how colours, like for example, I had used this sort of darker green, which I was trying to create a sort of like gentleman's club vibe in this living room. So it felt quite upmarket with like leathers and dark greens. And it was such a bold colour on the wall that when I put it on, again, I was like, oh, this is quite, but let's go for it. And then once, everything kind of came together in the room, it just looked amazing. And I thought, be you, because I do have a few moments where I go, what have I done? But the buyers loved it. So I'm like, thank you. But I find that if you work with the sort of history of the property and get a story along with it, with the colours, then it works much better.
It's much more appealing when there is a story. It's like in branding. Like if you see something that you want to buy, a product or anything, if it's just basic product and nothing behind it, or there is no something that's appealing to you, you're not gonna buy it. And a house, it's like you have to give it its own soul. You can feel it when you enter a property, like, oh, this property has a soul. It has something.
Yeah.
And also when you're selling a property, you're not trying to talk to the people's mind and reason. You're trying to appeal to their hearts. You want them to fall in love. I visited a lot of properties where on paper, they sounded great. And when I entered, I was like, I don't know. I don't feel it.
These are the people that you're giving everything that you've got to them because they want it. These are the people that you're selling to, that they're looking for something, really special because you put your heart and soul into your home. It's a place of sanctuary. It's a place of comfort. It's a place of fun and joy and entertaining. A white box, that doesn't speak of anything. It's a palette for you to do what you want. You've also got to remember that not everyone has got such a vivid imagination as we do. I found that when you do go really colourful and people are coming to view, they love it, but they can also see, right, well, I can actually see how colours do work together and give them a bit more courage to make changes themselves if they wanted to. I mean, it's only paint. If you're showing what can be done, then for anyone that's buying it, they can see, right, well, it's quite limitless. And it just gives them that energy to go, right, I love it. I'm going to live with this, but, I've got the courage to maybe go and change it, further down the line if I want to. But you're just giving that spark into people as well, and the spark into their offer at the solicitor.
And did you have an example of a project where someone put a property on the market and it hasn't been redone or anything, and it was all white, and they put it on the market and then it stayed for some time, and they then asked you to help them?
The first thing that comes to mind, not quite as what you asked me, but similar story. So a property that I put huge amounts of colour into. The kitchen had blue units and I had like a sort of pinky colour on the walls with green tiles, pink grout. I really went to town on this one. I had a sort of modern Victorian take and a shower room that with orange tiles and green terrazzo on the floor. There was so much colour in this property. And the very same flat in the next block went up for sale at the same time. It was like, oh my God, we're going up against. So both on the top floor of an old Victorian building, the flat next door was quite white and grey. It was quite safe. It was really nice. It still had lots of characterful features, but the kitchen was quite safe. Again, it was nice, but ours was completely different. And the difference being that his was on the market for a long time. Ours, it sold. Sadly, it fell through at the last minute with the buyers. But when it went back on the market, it sold again straight away. The offer that we've had versus, I obviously was quick to find out what the other one sold for, just to make a comparison. We've got so much more. So absolutely delighted. And we sold it like twice over. His was on the market for ages, and I thought, oh, poor guy, he's obviously spent a bit of money on it as well. It just highlights that when you put more design and colour into something, you'll get a greater return.
Yeah, and people think that asking professionals or maybe redesigning or putting colors in a space that you're going to sell is going to cost them too much money and it's not worth it. But in fact, if you put something on the market and it's there for ages, you lose more money.
To leave a property empty, if you're paying the mortgage, the council tax, the gas, the electric, and maybe the broadband as well, you could be into the thousands per month. So you've really got to think about that as well. And I'm glad that he sold the flat now. I really am, because it was empty for quite some time. I would always use colour. I would always, some people might think it's a bit too courageous, but it's worked for me every single time. So on the rental side, because I know we spoke a lot about on the sales side of your developing something, but on the rental side, it works pretty much the same way. But obviously when you're doing something, when you're renovating on a buy-to-let, it's an investment. So you're very much more cautious of the numbers. Yeah. So you're trying to do things on a budget. But I've become so used to it now that I just do everything on a budget, and I could make things look expensive. But you've always got the tenants in mind as well, about their experience in the property, about their lifestyle, and how they're going to feel in it. Because if you don't consider these things, then you might not have the best tenancy. And the whole point of buying a property as an investment is that you get a good return on it. And you have to think about the tenant's experience for that to be a good return. So less void periods, that the tenants, stay longer because they feel invested in it. So when you put colour, care, design into a rental property, the tenants, they feel valued. They feel like you have made the effort in providing something for them, so they're much more likely to invest in you and in the property. So much more. I mean, I'm really emphasising this, but you'll get the property back as an investor or landlord the way that you want it, as opposed to the way that they're willing to leave it. And that's because they feel the effort that you have gone into, and it's a much better relationship throughout the tenancy as well. And they will stay much longer because they feel happy. They're happy in there. And that is so, so important. And a lot of landlords don't get that. They want to put in something that's cheap and cheerful because it's only for tenants. And my mantra is the complete opposite, is put personality, put your heart and soul into it, and that's what you'll get back. The figures speak for themselves. So you just need to look at, having a portfolio of properties and the ones that you put the effort into and the ones versus that you don't, and you'll see the difference. And it's just nice to be able to get feedback from tenants as well, to say like how much they love the properties, and they fly out the door. So when something's on the market, because that's always what I'm trying to do, is make something stand out, that you get so many applicants. It's crazy the amount that, because people go, oh, that's different. That's so different to everything else that's on the market. You then have a choice of the tenants that you want as well. And quite often I'll design a property to suit a different type of person depending on the area. And so we're very much looking at area by area as to how we design something as well. If you don't think about your tenants, then it's not going to work for you as a landlord, as an investor. But all the investors that I work with, they understand that and they're quite happy. They just let me get on with it. They generally tell me like how much they've got to invest. I'll go and find a property. I'll let them know how much they need to spend on a renovation, what kind of renovating it needs to get it to the rental value that we want. And then once it's gone through conveyancing, I'll pick up the keys and go get it started. And I've done some really, particularly with you, some really wacky things. And they love it. They absolutely love it. It's just great to be able to show the landlords, this is the review that we've just got from the tenants. And then I get a great review from the investors and the landlords as well. So it's a wonderful job in that sense, because you can see like how much people are enjoying living in the homes that you create. So the property that we did, the one where we had a sort of almost 70s theme with it.
Yeah.
That one, was a bit of an experiment, because we went quite bold with shapes on the walls and colours throughout, and it rented super quickly, super fast. Kudos to you for your designs in that flat.
Thank you.
Because even the painter was like, whoa. Whoa. Because I was a little bit nervous about it. I always am, I think, with anything, because I just want it to work. I want it to be good. And I got a lovely review back from the tenants to say that they had moved from the US, from quite a warm city, and they felt that Glasgow could be quite cold and miserable. And I was like, well, calm down with the miserable. But obviously this was their take on it. And it was just lovely to come back home into the flat, and it was so bright and colourful and joyous. And it meant a lot to them that this was their first home in the UK. I couldn't have got a better review, and they're still there. That is the one thing that I've found over the last 3 years, is that the effort that we've put into the rental properties has meant that the people have stayed longer. They've stayed as long as they possibly can, because people are transient in a let property. But if you make it good, make it colourful and interesting, then there's nothing else on the market that's as good as what they've got, and they know it, so they stay put. And that's what we're after.
Completely. For me, I moved a lot from countries to countries for work. I lived in Germany during COVID. I moved just before COVID to Munich, and I was renting. And when I arrived, I didn't really feel a connection to Munich, and I felt really homesick. COVID didn't help at all. We stayed in the one flat for months, not feeling really good. And the thing is, in Germany, they're really strict about like when you rent, after it has to be all white again, and everything has to be spotless. And I was like, I don't care. I need colors here. I need to feel like, otherwise I'm going to be depressed. Even if I have to paint everything white after, I can do it. It's fine. Even the boldest colors or the darkest color, you can always paint them over in white, and you don't see anything afterwards, because you can't feel at home when you're far from home and you arrive in a country or a city you don't really enjoy, and you're in a space when you're like, oh, okay, I'm just counting the days.
I think that if you were to put a price on your happiness and your mental health, what would that price be? And if you think, well, I would spend like thousands of pounds to make myself happy, or any leftover that I had at my salary at the end of the month. And if the one thing is that when you come home and you don't like the colour on the walls, well, how much does that cost to change? And whilst paint has got more expensive, I've seen some of the paint brands that I use have doubled in price. So what do you do then? So you can go onto their website and you can have a look around, and they'll give you lots of inspiration about how to use the colour. And then you take that colour and you go to a paint store and you get a colour match, which is generally half the price, sometimes can be a third of the price. And then you go and you paint your walls with it, and maybe start with a smaller tin or something, try and get a sample of that and see how it goes. the cost of that versus you coming home and going, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel happy in this rental. Do something about it. And what you'll tend to find now is that landlords are coming round to the idea of painting. And sometimes people throw paint on the wall and make an absolute mess. And then it's difficult for the landlord then at the end of it. So most people will say, put it back to neutral when you're done. But again, it's like, well, just enjoy the flat whilst you're there. Do whatever you want to it. And then at the end, put it back to the way it was. But then you'll find that some landlords, if they come and see it, they go, oh, this is actually brilliant. This is an improvement. Because that's what I do. I'll put colour in it to begin with. But some people, they're maybe too afraid to. But I would say that if it's affecting your mental health, if you don't enjoy living in the property, paint it. You'll feel so much better. Enjoy it, and you'll feel much more connected to the property as well. You feel that it's more of a home as opposed to a pit stop, which it can be for a lot of people.
Would you have tips or advice for our listeners, maybe if they want to renovate their home to sell or to rent, but budget friendly?
So if you're on a budget, paint is the best way to do that. It's the most cost efficient way of making something look very different to what you have. I'm not an interior designer, but I know the colours that I like, that I'm really drawn to, and stick with those, because then you'll feel more confident within them. And always look for inspiration. There's a whole host of DIYers out there now that are really excited about, doing it themselves. Go and look on Pinterest. Pinterest is fabulous for colour charts where you can see how colours work together. And then just get a tester. Go and get a tester, try it out, put it on the wall. I can spend a lot of time on Pinterest, but look at paint companies' websites. So Farrow & Ball, Little Green, Lick, Yes Colours. You get a lot of inspiration from there. And if you feel that you're not brave enough to maybe mix the colours yourself, they give you everything that you need. They will show you what colours work together. So if you're painting the wall one colour, they'll give you something that will work for the skirtings and the door frames, etc. So you're not on your own when it comes to picking colour. I would always base it on, do your research on the area and think, right, well, this is, I think, what it could sell for if it was looking amazing. And then you work back from there and you say, well, how much money have I got to do a renovation or a refurb? I've maybe only got a few thousand. Okay, so what can we do? But if you've got a little bit more, and then maybe focus on the bigger areas. So maybe doing the kitchen or doing the bathroom. Where do you feel the areas of the house that need the most? If you're going for a bigger renovation and you feel that you're completely out of your depth, but you know that maybe your house is in a good area, that it could really hit the ceiling price, then why don't you just get an interior designer on board? Because I feel like they're worth their weight in gold. And especially if you don't have time to do it. I always feel in business that you can't be expected to do everything. But you can find people that can. That would be my advice, because then it's all cohesive. Everything that you do throughout the house is very cohesive because it's all been thoroughly thought through. And I think it'll probably cost you less than what you would imagine as well. Yeah, bring in the experts, always.
So we're coming to the end of the episode. Is there a way our listeners can contact you? Maybe your Instagram account, your website?
Yes. So on Instagram, Kelvingrove Property Sourcing, if you are thinking about, buying property. But my actual name is Jemima. But I have been known as Jay for so long. So I'm kind of now sort of dipping into Jemima now. So I've just launched a new Instagram called Jemima Renovates, which is just all about the renovating side. And I feel like I should be posting much more on it. It's like a full-time job, Instagram, isn't it? At some point this year, we will be launching Jemima Renovates on YouTube and having a look. Having a look on just the life of, I suppose, property development and ups and downs and the hard parts, the fun bits, all of that. So there's the Jemima Renovates, the Kelvingrove Property Sourcing.com. They're on the website as well if you have a look. And then also if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I would be delighted to speak to anyone that wants to have a chat about, doing a development together, or if they want to help buying property and where to buy, etc. Happy to chat.
Thank you very much, Jay, for coming to this vibrant episode and bringing your expertise on how color can boost your home value.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Just even seeing you with that beautiful backdrop behind you, all those lovely pictures. Yeah, it's been a joy. I am honoured to be asked, and I hope that this has been helpful.
Completely. Everyone, thank you for listening to our episode. Stay colorful, stay vibrant, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe, rate, or review on the different listening platforms. To say hello and get all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at rainbow.shaker. And if you want to check out my services, you can go to my website www.rainbowshaker.com. Thanks again, and I wish you all a very colorful day. See you next time!